Someone sent me a video a few years ago of him attacking me, and I was like, so I'm looking at this, and he's attacking my dad as a CIA, his dad's in the CIA or whatever, and I'm like, well, that's no, untrue. Then my father dies, and I learn, actually, was involved in that world. And I'm like, well, how the hell would this child from Chicago, my dad was 84 when he passed. Like, who does this guy know who my dad is? And like, he's in intelligence. How would he know that?
Well, Tucker, I'm glad you're tuning in because this kid from Chicago, this 26-year-old kid from Chicago with this chip in the shoulder and the world in his eyes, is about to tell you more about your dad. If you were surprised to find out your dad was CIA, I'm about to blow your mind.
Nick Fuentes knew Tucker Carlson's dad was CIA before Tucker did. Okay. But I'll check out the clip and let you guys know my thoughts.
I probably shouldn't even say this, but the only reason I know who he is because someone sent me a video a few years ago of him attacking me. And I was like, so I'm looking at this. And I'm like, well, first of all, this kid's really talented, like legit. And I can assess that just having done the job for so long. So I was like, wow, lots of talent, native talent. And he's attacking my dad as a CIA, his dad's in the CIA or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's no, untrue. Then my father dies, and I learn, actually, was involved in that world. I was completely shocked by it. So no one has to believe me, but that's just a fact.
Right.
This was in March of this year. And I'm like, well, how the hell would this child from Chicago, my dad was 84 when he passed. Like, who does this guy know who my dad is? And like, he's in intelligence. How would he know that? And
Wait, so that was his critique of you? Because I didn't see it.
Someone just sent me this video and was like, you can't believe anything Carlson says because his father was in the CIA and he's a CIA working on behalf of the CIA. Well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, and I actually feel emotional in my anger towards CIA. And I think of that comes out on the air quite regularly.
Right.
And so the idea that I'm working for the CIA is like deranged.
Well, if it helps, he said I'm funded by Russia now. Since the interview, he then did a thing and said I was funded by Russia.
But you would be a lot more likely to take Russian money than I would be to work for the CIA, because you would never take Russian money, and you're not Russian. But I mean, I really hate the CIA. And I mean, that's like very offensive to me. So why would you?
It's like personal for you.
Well, a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't know Tucker's dad was CIA. He says he found out later in life, but he says he has issues with the CIA, and he says that he would never support the CIA. Not sure if he's being serious or if he's trying to lead us on, basically lying to the public.
Well, Tucker, I'm glad you're tuning in because this kid from Chicago, this 26-year-old kid from Chicago with this chip in the shoulder and the world in his eyes, is about to tell you more about your dad. If you were surprised to find out your dad was CIA, I'm about to blow your mind. And I didn't get this information from the CIA. I got it from Mint Press News. I got it from C-SPAN. I got it from Wikipedia. It's all available on the internet. You should try it sometime. Tucker says he doesn't own a TV. He doesn't use email. Maybe that's why he doesn't know this information, right? Tucker frequently says, I never watch TV. I don't even own a TV. I don't even use email. That's probably why he's so out of the loop, because all this information is on the internet. It's all there. If you Google Dick Carlson, you'll find all of this. So someone send him the clip, someone transcribe it onto a leaf or translate it into Morse code or smoke signals, whatever Tucker is able to interpret, however he gets his media. Someone could write it on a note and pass it to him by the Pony Express. And I will teach him more about his own dad. I can do that because I'm a 26-year-old kid from Chicago with internet access and a phone and a TV. This is from Mint Press News. It says, Dick Carlson is an important journalist and high state official who was appointed by Ronald Reagan as director of the U.S. Information Agency, the body that oversees government-funded media, including Voice of America, of which Dick was also the director. Together, these outlets are part of what the New York Times called a worldwide propaganda network built by the CIA. This is Tucker's dad. Tucker's dad was a Reagan appointee, confirmed in the Senate, to run U.S. Information Agency, which runs Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, all of it. The New York Times called it a worldwide propaganda network built by the CIA. And up until the 70s, it was exclusively funded by the CIA. In his position as director of USIA, Dick played a considerable role in the downfall of the Soviet Union. In a 1990 event alongside media moguls Rupert Murdoch and Ted Turner, Rupert Murdoch, Tucker's future boss, he noted that, quote, I think we would all agree that international broadcasting, this is Dick Carlson in 1990. This is a quote. I'm going to read it to you. Tucker's dad said this. I think we would all agree that international broadcasting played a very critical role, as was suggested by Mr. Murdoch, the owner of Fox News, in the events that took place in the USSR and Eastern Europe over the last couple of years. From Beijing to Budapest to Warsaw to Vilnius, information poured across borders, and news that millions of people had stood up to their oppressors helped millions of others sweep those oppressors away. He is referring to regime change, color revolutions, backed by the CIA media empire that he ran. He said, I also believe that international broadcasters were equally important in laying the groundwork for the democratic revolutions that we have seen. Isn't it incredible how Western all of those Eastern Europeans sound, talking about freedom, democracy, free enterprise, environmental concerns? And they don't get those ideas from their own media or from textbooks in their countries. They get them mainly from international broadcasters like Voice of America, BBC Radio, Liberty Media for Europe.
Okay, so as I was saying, I didn't know much about the Tucker Carlson and his dad. But I do think that Tucker's lying. If his dad was confirmed by the Senate, he was an appointee by Ronald Reagan, and Nick found this information just off a Google search. I'm sure not only did Tucker Carlson know this, he knows much more. So it's coming across to me like Tucker's probably lying to the American people, which is unfortunate. But it's a lot of information I'm getting from Nick, and he's actually very funny. Like, he started this off kind of trashing Tucker, and I chuckled a few times because he was really punishing him.
Tucker's father, Dick, ran the CIA's propaganda empire, pushing color revolutions in the Soviet Union, in the Warsaw Pact, in Tiananmen Square, in China. That's what the event was about. They were reflecting on the Tiananmen Square massacre, where Voice of America operatives were there spreading information about the student protests. Color revolutions in all the communist countries, and in China in particular, Dick Carlson wanted to overthrow the communist Chinese, and he played a part running Voice of America in 1989 to do this. And he bragged about how the peoples of the world are throwing off their oppressors, learning about free enterprise, democracy through Voice of America, which he ran. It's very important stuff. Appointed by Reagan. In the same job, Dick was a key component in the ultimately successful attempt to bring down the leftist Sandinista government in Nicaragua through hybrid warfare. That's the Iran-Contras affair, where Israel brokered arms and money exchanges, giving Iran weapons and money to fund the Contra fighters, the anti-communists in Nicaragua, the right-wing death squads. Dick was helping to do this. Dick would later be appointed by President George H.W. Bush as U.S. ambassador to the Seychelles and serve on a number of neoconservative think tanks. Chief among these is the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, an organization widely accused of being little more than a front for the Israel lobby. Indeed, when asked point blank if that were the case, he refused to deny it, stating only that Israel is a country under siege. It's a democracy in a part of the world where there are no democracies, and it is under constant irregular terrorist attack and threat. Also on the board of the FDD at that time were Gene Kirkpatrick, a high official at the board of the FDD at that time, a high official at the center of the Iran-Contras affair, and R. James Woolsey, the CIA director from 1993 to 1995. Dick would later team up with Woolsey again at the Institute for the Study of Terrorism and Political Violence. Okay? So, to summarize, Tucker Carlson's father was appointed by Reagan. to do U.S. information warfare, running the CIA's propaganda empire of international broadcasters, facilitating the overthrow of communist governments like the left-wing government in Nicaragua during Iran-Contras, and in China during the Tiananmen Square massacre. And he was bragging on a panel with Rupert Murdoch, the founder of Fox News, who the Reagan administration got into the United States because he's from another country. Dick Carlson then went on to work for neoconservative think tanks where he defended Israel. They're basically an outfit for Israel, working with other CIA agents involved in Iran-Contras at these various NGOs. That's Tucker Carlson's dad. That Tucker did not know was in the CIA. That Tucker is pleading ignorance. He was shocked, just absolutely shocked, that his father that ran Voice of America and USAI, his father that was at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, that was at these other neocon think tanks, appointed by George Bush as an ambassador, didn't know he was in the CIA world until he heard it from me, until he found out just this year. Now, of course, what is Tucker Carlson? Well, Tucker Carlson is a broadcaster. Sort of interesting. Dick Carlson ran the CIA's empire of broadcasters. Tucker's a broadcaster working at Fox News under Rupert Murdoch that Dick was friends with.
So I was also, the clip is pretty much over. I also was catching the Robert Murdoch, Fox, neocons. I was catching some of the people he was bringing up. He didn't bring up Oliver North, but I know who Oliver North was. So I now see somewhat of the connection. Last clip we talked about, last clip I did on Nick, he talked about the CIA and the Jewish connection. Now he's talking about the media and how they push American exceptionalism. They push why we need to get involved in these foreign wars. So I can see how there's a potential that some foreign governments pay money and then the media, I'm not going to call it the media propaganda, but I do see how the same players are tied in where it's like, oh, this person's dad ran this. Fox person knew the CIA's person's dad, and he's also friends with this foreign leader. I am starting to see some of the connections there. I don't want to go into a full conspiracy because there's only a small amount of people at the top. So these same people that are on Fox, he also was talking about how the leftist liberals were trying to overthrow communism. So people of different groups, different ideologies may still intermingle with one another just because there's only a small amount of people at the top. But I was catching, and I think people should probably look more into, well, who are some of the people that Tucker's worked with, and who are some of the people Murdoch's worked with, and are they connected to Israel? Are they connected to China? Are they connected to Russia? Just so that as Americans, we better understand, is our government putting us first? Because America should put us first and then should be trying to help the world, not necessarily the politicians or the elites looking out for themselves and then helping us on the back end. So again, I think that Nick had a lot of valuable information. And when I get time, I'm going to take a step away from some of the more local and racial based and IQ and intelligence based information that I've been gathering for a while now. But I'm really interested, probably you guys can tell, I'm really interested in more of this Israel angle. I'm really interested more in learning about not even just Israel, but the CIA and just how the government works, right? We all talk about the government. We all want to be good civil citizens. We want to participate, but I want to find out. I've heard Republicans call it the deep state. I'm not calling this the deep state, but what I'm saying is I just want to be more knowledgeable about the different players, because I would like our government, as I said earlier, I would like them to do for us. And the only way we'll know that is if we ourselves know more about some of the other entities and other factions at play. So I intend to look more into this topic as well as others. If you like this video, please smash the like button, comment, and subscribe. New shows airing Monday through Thursday.